You're listening to the Strange Oddities podcast. Please welcome your host, Matthew J. Haas. This is your podcast for strange things.
What's up, Strange Oddities podcast viewers and listeners? As always, I'm your host, Matthew J. Haas. I have two amazing, exciting guests for tonight's show. I can't wait to introduce them to my listeners. But as always, guys, let's get all the boring logistic stuff out of the way in the beginning. So I don't have to deal with it later. And so this way, I don't forget about it either. Because we don't deal with short-term and long-term memory, right? Anyway, guys, we have a website. It's strangeodditiespodcast.wordpress.com. If you want to email me, it's strangeodditiespodcast@gmail.com. We do have a Facebook page and a YouTube page. That's where we live stream currently, simulcast both Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, please kindly subscribe on YouTube, that little bell at the top page. Just click that little bell. That'd be great. Guys, I want to go ahead and welcome the two great guests that we have. Get them in here. We have Miss Cherie Rathman and Tony Rathman from Entity Voices podcast, Paranormal Evidence. Guys, welcome to the Strange Oddities podcast. My listeners and viewers are a little familiar with you guys, as we've done, we've had crossovers on both shows, and we've been guests on your shows. So I think it'd be nice to ask you both to be on the Strange Oddities podcast, without doing a big thing on here, and have you guys on here. So, guys, thanks for coming on to the show.
Hi,
Matt.
Thanks for inviting us, Matt. This is going to be wonderful. We'll get an opportunity to talk about all sorts of things tonight. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
And thank you for having us again.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm a fan of your show. I listen quite frequently. I love your show. I really encourage our listeners and viewers to check your podcast out because, what, and I mean it like what I've said about you guys, like when I advertise for this week's podcast. I love how you guys highlight other paranormal investigators and you share other people's evidence of, alleged evidence that they have from investigation that they highlight that they think is evidence. And I think it's great how you focus on that. And it really shows a strong unity on your end. And I love your positive energy as well that you produced on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that compliment and observations. But yes, one of the things that we wanted to do with the show was to really bring to light the unbelievable amount of talent in investigators that happen out there. And there are so many, and we barely scratched.
So many talented.
Yeah, we barely scratched the surface of the amount of investigators that are out there that do this on a regular basis and just capture amazing evidence. But when we can get them on and have them sit down with us for an hour and be able to, take their top 4 or 5 captures from the entire time they were investigating, or even just from the last year, and be able to review that. I mean, that's just as exciting for us because we love going through evidence, and talking about paranormal and talking about evidence is awesome. I mean, it's a great way to spend free time, right. But then to be able to highlight back to the community those people that are doing the work. Let's face it, going out and investigating takes money. Takes time. It takes a ton of effort in reviewing the evidence, putting it together. So we feel honored as well to be able to bring people on, let them show what they've captured and talk about it. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a win situation on both ends.
Yeah. And not only that, we also learn from their techniques, their style of how they investigate, which is amazing, by the way.
Yep. And everybody's got different ways of doing things, and there isn't a right or wrong. It's whatever works for you. And when you can gather evidence and capture evidence with whatever you're doing or whatever you're using, that's all that matters. And you're absolutely right. Being able to share that not only with a community that watches and listens, but with each other. I mean, we've learned tons from other investigators that we've had on the show. So it's a positive experience for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a learning opportunity as well. Like you said, everybody brings something different to the table. Everybody's got different styles and techniques that they utilize on a paranormal investigation or how they collected that evidence. And it's great to hear those things from other people because there are things that they can bring that you may have never heard or thought of before.
Right. You're absolutely correct. And we have that just among our hosts as well. Ron and Lourdes bring a whole array of experience that Cherie and I don't have.
Right.
Chris and Audra have a whole nother end of it. Chris being sensitive and Audra being a just an incredible thinker when it comes to.
She's very creative.
She's very creative when she's looking for ways to create activity, make activity happen. And we've learned over the years just from our own teammates when we're talking about investigating styles. But like Cherie said, then to bring in other investigators to discuss it, it's just a great situation. And we're very fortunate to have a fantastic team.
Sure. What the first question I have for you guys is what got you all together in the first place? I know that it's you guys, it's Chris Allgood, it's Audra Keeler, Ron and Lourdes, Ron Yancovetti, Lourdes Gonzalez. What got you guys all together to do Entity Voices podcast?
Well, they're cute couples.
Well, it was funny because I had a lot of free time back in March because after 12 and a half years, I got let go because of COVID.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, everything happens for a reason. So,
he's actually not sorry.
No, I enjoyed it. I really did. Yeah. But anyway, so I had a lot of free time. So I started thinking, okay, I want to do a podcast. I want to do a video podcast. And I had done a couple of different radio shows years prior and tried to use a similar concept. But with radio, you could only do EVPs. With the launch of StreamYard and all the other video broadcasting. So we did an original show and we invited on Chris and Audra, who were part of Entity Voices at that time. And we did our first show. And then we started bringing in guests. We had Colin Broen, we had Tracy Austin, we had Joe Thompson,
Michelle LeBaron,
right? And then we had on Ron and Lourdes, and that was an unbelievable popular show because they're very experienced. They had great evidence. Well, and then Chris and Audra ended up moving. And we asked Ron and Lourdes to fill in for them while they were gone. And again, great shows. And Chris and Audra thought the same thing. Those were great shows. So we asked them to join us. And they did. And the rest has been history since. And
it's just we clicked.
We all clicked very well together.
Yeah, you did. Your chemistry is great.
That's true.
Yeah, and different lines of thinking and different observations. And we do very well at dissecting different evidence from different styles and different ways and
ideas.
Right. Yeah. And it's just a great working and friendship relationship. So we have no complaints at all.
Yeah. What I love, I love everybody on the show. What I really loved about Chris Allgood is when we were on the show, there were a perspective of our evidence that we shared on your show that we didn't even see from before, and his point of view and the way he observes evidence and what he finds and looks at. It was just amazing of the things that he was pointing out. And I was just I had to relook at everything again and be like, wow, I can't believe he spotted that. And he's really good at analyzing.
Yeah, it's very good on observation.
It's from his police background.
Yep.
And he was part of the Arizona posse group, I believe. If I'm saying that wrong, Chris, I apologize. But for 10, 12 years. And when we go to either review evidence on the shows or even when we used to be able to investigate the hospital and other places together, he's awesome at that. He will catch things you wouldn't even have noticed if he didn't point it out. So again, just those background perspectives that make such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's face it, there's a lot of different skilled and people with different abilities in the field, and everybody that you have on the show brings a little something different to the table, and that's what makes it a really good show too. And a big shout out to the people in the chat, because actually Garnyak is in there right now.
I see that.
Yeah, and
What's up,
Carrie
Ron?
she's there. I want to say hello to those peeps in the chat. So, guys, if you have questions for our guests tonight, we can relay them through the chat. If you want to chat, it's not much of a chat, but it's there. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, you can comment. We'll see them, and we'll try to get them out there to our guests as best as possible. But so guys, let's talk shop. How did you and Cherie get together, and what formed your unity? And what got you going to say this is what I want to do? How did you guys get started?
Well, that's an interesting.
I'm gonna have him talk, as I have.
She just had a tooth pulled, so she her mouth is hurting. But we had complete difference of perspectives of what was paranormal. In fact, she believed in it, having a background growing up in the Philippines. They have a very rich culture in spirits and paranormal happenings. And so she grew up with that. She was accustomed to it. My father was a physics, chemistry, physical science teacher. So when I was a kid, when I had questions and asked, it was all science related. Paranormal stuff was never part of those explanations. So when I met Cherie and we started dating, I noticed that she was watching paranormal shows, or at least some of the very beginning ones. That was 11, 12 years ago. Yeah. And she'd always want me to sit down and watch them with her. Well, I'd last about 3 minutes. I'm like, this is BS. This isn't real. It's just for television.
Yeah.
Well, then one Valentine's Day, Cherie comes up to me and says, I want to do something different this year. I said, okay, what do you want to do? So I'm going to go ghost hunting. I was like, oh my God, I can't say no to a Valentine's Day request unless I wanted to pay for it for the next year. So I said, sure, honey, we can do that. Well, I had no clue where to go, but did some research online, anyway. found a hotel in the Phoenix area that had a reputation, booked it for the weekend, thought I was done. Then I realized, wait a minute, these people are using equipment. She can't just go without any equipment. So I bought her a night vision camera.
I remember you bought me a microphone.
I didn't know how it worked. Yeah, I bought her a plug-in reporter mic for the recorder and EMF meter. I thought, okay, now she'll be happy. Well, we went, and she did. She had a blast, and I played along because I wasn't expecting anything, and I figured the equipment would sit in the closet for the next how many years till we threw it out. But she started reviewing it when we got back. She was calling me over every few minutes going, oh my God, listen to this. What's this voice? Where did this come from? What's in this picture? What is that? Look what is standing in the video and moving across the room. I was absolutely blown away. And so that's how it started. And I think we went back to that location over more 50 times.
Because it's closer to from our work.
Right. We would get off of work, we'd go right down there and investigate.
Nice.
And we kept reproducing the results and getting more and more and more. And that got me absolutely hooked. And now 11 years later, we're still doing it.
Yeah. And it seems like after hearing a lot of the evidence that you shared on your podcast, just from you both personally, you guys collect really good EVPs together. The way you communicate with spirit or whatever it is that you're in communicating with at the location, I really enjoy the approach that you guys use, because you do it respectfully, and just the way that the energy comes back to you guys, and the clear, solid EVPs and stuff you guys get is just amazing.
Well, I owe most of that to Cherie, because when we started out, I don't know how many times she told me the first year, because I would just go in and I'd just start asking questions. And every time she'd say, stop asking questions. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's tell them who we are. Let's tell them why we're here, that we just want to communicate. We want to talk to them. We're not here to hurt them. We don't want to kick them out. We don't want to impose. We're just here to communicate. Well, she did that every time until I started doing it. and that built a level of trust and respect with them. And I believe 100% today, that's why we get such amazing EVPs, because Cherie made those ground rules and we've stuck to them, and we've made a connection and a trust. And so I owe that to Cherie, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, that's great. We also try to do that as well with that approach. And we believe we get good evidence because of that. Do you guys also believe that it's important to bring, not only as a couple, because let's face it, when you go into an investigation, there are different situations at every location that interrupts that good flow of good energy that you're bringing with you. Do you find it hard to keep that positive energy, to try to collect that good evidence that you guys get together as a couple?
I guess part of it depends on location and where we're at. Each one's different and it can be a challenge. I know when we were in the Philippines at the Diplomat Hotel, that one was probably our biggest challenge, just because there was so much history. There were so many different languages. I mean, we caught EVPs in English, Tagalog, Latin, and Japanese. But luckily, Cherie speaks three of the four. The Latin was the one we still don't know exactly what was said. I know it was Koji Lili, but I don't know what that means. But her and my chemistry when we investigate together, and most of the time, or at least for the first 8 years, it was just her and I. And so, yeah, we built on that, and we used that to be able to get them to communicate. And with only 2 people, there was, I think, some trust in the spirits to show more, to talk more. With bigger groups, it can sometimes be much more challenging.
Right.
But
I totally agree with that. With bigger group, it's hard to investigate.
Well, because everyone thinks, at least people that aren't involved in paranormal, that, spirits are there to scare you and freak you out. And human spirits, I mean, they will hide, and they won't come out unless they trust you, unless you can make them feel comfortable. And we were able to do that with just 2 of us.
Yeah. I also think specific questions that are asked are important as well. Like how you ask the question to them will also get them to interact with you more, because I think acknowledgement or recognition of what they've done as far as their past history or their relation to the location. And, because let's face it, like some of the questions that are asked over and over, are you dead? How did you die? Or, what year did you die? Like, to me, if I was spirit, I'd be like, I'm not answering that. Those are boring questions. I don't want to know those things.
But you're absolutely right. And how many times do you think they get asked that, especially if it's a location that's visited by multiple paranormal investigating teams? I mean, if I was a spirit, I'd maybe answer that once, and then I'd be like, screw you, I'm not replying to that anymore.
Yeah.
Plus, who wants to be reminded of those questions every single time?
Right.
So we started with that.
Oh, of course we did. We did so much wrong when we first started, because you're and I started alone. And we didn't have other people doing it with us to learn from. We made lots of mistakes.
And when we're watching our old video, we laugh at our video.
Well, I have this video of Cherie holding the recorder and this TV mic asking questions. And oh God, funny stuff.
And I was so excited when I see this dust. I thought it's orb.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. You're like, look at all the ghosts.
Yeah, and then when I pull down my camera, I see this dust reflecting the lights. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You learn sometimes the hard way. Loki. Sorry, man.
Oh, that's Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you learn the hard way, and we did make mistakes. And everybody does, and you learn from them, and then you move on. And that was 11 years ago that those things were occurring, but it's how we learned.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Everybody knows Loki in a way, because the followers of yours, everybody knows Loki. So it's all good. we've learned a hard lesson. My wife and I, we had a really serious attachment many years ago, and that's because we sort of used provocation, and we kind of provoked a little bit. And there were some things that we shouldn't have done, back in our younger years, and we've learned from those type mistakes. Also, made us more aware and more respectful with what we're dealing with. Because let's face it, the paranormal is unpredictable. It's unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, the things that could happen to you personally or anyone else with you. So it's in a way, you got to be real careful how you communicate.
True.
No, that's so true. And I remember, I don't know, maybe our second year. I don't remember when it was, what year it was, but we were in the La Posada Hotel.
Oh my God.
And we were probably saying some things we shouldn't have. But then Cherie told them to use their energy to move something or communicate with us or something. And then she said, and if you don't have enough energy, use my husband's. And I had the absolute worst night. I mean, I remember Cherie, I was so out of it. I couldn't even speak. I could hear her talk to me. She was trying to say a prayer. A closing prayer. She wanted me to say it with her. The words would not come out of my mouth. I mean, it was, they were,
yeah.
I don't know if I was somewhat possessed or
definitely
I don't know,
affected.
it scared me that to a point that I said that that's it. We're not doing this anymore. I don't want any more paranormal.
It was really,
we're not going to do this anymore. So it's so scary. You have to be prepared before and after you do investigation. You got to guard yourself.
Yeah, well, we do that now. But again, another mistake made and learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys have a team aside from your podcast that you do investigations and events with. You've been to some really great locations such as the Queen Mary, and you guys have kind of been all over. I'm a little jealous because you're on the West Coast, more of the Midwest, and you get to travel to places that are on my bucket list that you've done. And I envy that. But yeah, so
it's all location based though, Matt, because the places that are right across down the street from you are our bucket list, because we can visit all the ones here and you can visit. I mean, there's some great places in the Midwest. There are some amazing places on the East Coast, and you guys have more history than we do. I mean, Arizona's only been a state since 1912.
No,
something like that.
Wow.
So, I mean, there were people here, and but it wasn't a state. But that history, and that we don't have houses here that are 300, 400 years old.
Not unlike you guys. You guys have
so there's some advantages regardless of where you are. You just have to make the best of what you've got access to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. We do have a couple of things in the chat from Carrie Hopper. She does have a question. How did you two get involved with the Phelps Dodge Hospital, and how did you start CCPRC?
Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Carrie. Be happy to answer that. Well, CCPRC stands for the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, and it is or was the old Phelps Dodge Hospital, which was built actually by the New Cornelia Mining Company. It was built in 19.
Don't ask me.
I always mess this up. I don't know why. I know this like the back of my hand. It was either 1919.
Well,
1919. But anyway, and it was made for the sole purpose of the miners working in the copper mine to help them if they're injured, because there were tons of injuries. But anyway, we got to investigate it on a tour, and we spent maybe 3 or 4 hours in there.
Baby, you were eyeing that hospital
for years. I did. I had my eye on it for years, but I was curious about the activity. So when we saw somebody taking a tour, we took it, and we brought all of our equipment, and they let us actually investigate. Well, in about 3 or 4 hours, we had captured stuff that we have been all over the country and had trouble getting. And in that short of a time and our first visit, I said, okay, I want to operate this as like a West Coast Waverly Hills. And so we did manage to get a hold of the owner, and we were actually thinking about buying it. But the owner asked us what our plan was for it. We explained what the plan was, what the business thing was to keep the building together and operational. And he loved it. And he came up to Phoenix the next day and said, let's partner. And that's how it got. That's how it started.
Nice. That's a good gate to have.
It is. Plus, it gives us a place to investigate, especially.
It's a couple-hour drive.
Yeah, it's hour and 45 minutes or so, but it's not that far. But it's nice to always have a place if you really want to go try out new equipment, test something, or just plain sit in the dark and listen to all the things happening around you when you know you're the only one there.
Right. Tony, I know you are dabble a little bit with your own ITC experimental equipment. I know you've been involved with that a little bit. Would you mind letting people know like what you're working on? Or
Sure, I'd be happy to. When we, oh my God, I don't even know how many years ago, 10 years ago, got our first spirit box ever. Of course, it was your standard SB7. Well, we would take it out, we would use it, and of course, we'd record it. And I would go through these recordings with a fine-tooth comb, and I would hear answers. And I remember coming to Cherie one time and said, you've got to hear this. Almost every question we asked is answered, but you couldn't hear it. I mean, you could, but you'd have to pay such close attention. And, there's some training that goes to the ear over the years you do it. But I knew the answers were there. They just weren't strong enough audio to be able to get them clear enough. Right. And so what we started doing was I learned how spirit boxes were made, what components they used, and we started building them. And I think now we're on like box 11. Maybe. Yeah.
Nice.
And every one we've done, we've tried different circuitry. We've tried, spring reverb. We've tried, and then we built boxes that had multiple. And our most recent build is called the Evox, and it had multiple input sources. You could put an SP7 to it. You could put any other spirit box. You could do tablets, whatever you wanted. Well, that worked really well for us, and it cut down. If you plugged in the SP7, it reduced the SP7 static and chatter by about, I'd say, 65%. But yet your answers would come through really clear. Well, we've upgraded that one in October of 2020 and built the Evox 2.0. And this is the best one we have so far. It has no static. It has no background noise. It is completely silent until they speak. And when they speak, it is clear. It is completely audible. It is probably one of the most incredible boxes, definitely, that we've built or that I've heard or seen.
Nice. Out of all the equipment that you guys use, either together or separately, maybe we can ask Cherie a little bit. What's one of your most favorite pieces of equipment that you enjoy using?
Well, to be honest, I always love to carry my cell phone. Yeah, he may laugh, but
I do laugh. But you should.
I'm laughing because he's laughing.
I know. This guy right over here.
You should hear the EVPs she has captured on that phone. I mean, granted, technologies are making phones better and better every month, and their mics are better, their cameras are better. But she tends to draw towards her phone. Right. But I'll never complain about it because what she gets from them, some of our best EVPs over the last 11 years have been captured.
All the ones that on the YouTube, phone. Those are all captured through my phone. Yep. So
wow.
Well, not all. I mean, we've got the parabolic mics.
A little bit, yeah.
We've got the Taz cams. We've got the Sonys. We've got lots of equipment.
Yeah, sure. But also one of my favorite is my millimeter, and also the digital recorder that you bought me. that pretty much the simply the simplest is better than Tony. Tony will carry the whole entire house. Oh my gosh! When we investigate, you have to carry all. I'm like, come on!
When we went to the Queen Mary, you wouldn't believe what we fit in our car. When we brought it all up on the ship, they went, "Did you guys have a moving van?"
I can't believe it. Too.
No, we literally got it in the back seat in the trunk, and we every square inch was utilized to make it fit.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we have Anthony Simonelli just showed up in the chat. What's up, Anthony?
Hey, Anthony.
What's up? And of course, my wife is in there monitoring the chat. Can't forget to say hello to Josie. Thank you for monitoring the chat for us tonight.
Thank you.
But so Carrie says you get great video too. I think video is probably like one of the most key important pieces of equipment to carry on you, because it'll document stuff on video of what you're doing and the experience possibly that you're encountering.
Totally agree. And the three basic pieces of equipment that we won't go anywhere without are video cameras. Usually we take either night vision as well or full spectrum, but that, digital recorders, and usually
the DVR is the most important thing too, because so you can record it.
Well, again, it depends on location, but I would never investigate anywhere without some sort of tri-meter, EMF meter, Mel meter, something that registers that, a digital recorder, and a camera that can shoot in either night vision or full spectrum, because that's where 80% of your evidence comes from. Although all the other tools are an absolute blast to use, and there's so many of them out there. But the other good part about having multiple equipment is you can help verify your evidence when you can get multiple devices to register, whether that be an EVP on a recorder, and then a device that is registering pressure, temperature, and it records those changes in temperature, in pressure, in humidity while the EVP happened. When you can get multiple devices to give you evidence of something occurring at the same time, that's when you truly know you've got backup to just one device or one thing happening.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. We've had an instance of that, and I find that being kind of rare, in my opinion. Like, at least with us, like, we haven't gotten that a whole lot. We either get EVPs or a couple of things, but not like a collaboration of pieces of equipment. But one time we were at Selma Mansion in Pennsylvania, Norristown, Pennsylvania, and my wife and I were in the basement, and we have these chairs set up like kind of in a semi-half circle, and we have equipment all over the chairs, different types of equipment, like from a Paranology static meter to a Mel meter to other pieces of equipment, recorder. I've had other things going, and we had a camera behind us, a standalone Static X camera that wasn't plugged into an outlet or anything, just it was by itself running on a battery, and we had stuff going on, and all of our equipment from the first chair all the way over to all the other chairs, every piece of equipment started to go off. Then I get a rock thrown at the back of my leg, and I jump, and then behind me, the camera malfunctions, the IR lights go out.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but I just, that when you experience that, when you have all that collaboration all at once, then it gives it more validity.
It does. And that was, you just said exactly what I was explaining. But yeah, when you can get different pieces of equipment to react in whatever manner they do at the same time, that's when it just gives you that much more backup, saying, okay, yeah, something just occurred because we had multiple machines catch it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you guys review, because obviously you guys deal with a lot of ITC research and EVPs and stuff, what's your go-to as far as software when you review? There's a lot of people ask that, like, how can I review the EVPs that I collect on an investigation? That's probably some of the most technical common question I come across.
Yeah, you know what? Any type of audio software, and there's a lot of free ones out there, and we've
Audacity. We use Audacity.
Audacity we
I
use all the
Audacity.
time. Yeah,
I love Audacity.
because it's free.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve to it if you've never used
the audacity of you know.
yeah. But if you've never used some type of audio software, yeah, Audacity can seem a little overwhelming, but you don't necessarily use every piece of it during everything.
Yeah.
But if you can clear up EVPs a little bit, if you can boost sound, if you can try to pinpoint areas, that's really all you need to do. And the other part about having audio software is most of them, and I can't think of anyone that doesn't, but gives you an audio spectrum graph of what you're listening to. That helps you identify when you hear something, and it gives you the ability to very easily play it back over and over and over, which allows you to understand truly what's being said, because a lot of EVPs, spirits will speak very fast, very quickly, and you can miss what they said. And lots of times on recordings are the only time we've actually heard what they've said, because in the moment you're distracted, you're watching other things. But yeah, Audacity is great for doing that. No doubt there.
Yeah. And a lot of investigators I've noticed tend to do a quick live review, like right on the spot, to cut down reviewing later on. That at least they can, jot down some notes. All right, this is at this time, this happened at this moment in this location of the place we were at. Do you guys do any live review, or any of that stuff?
Yeah, well, we have different recorders that we'll use for different in different ways. We've got ones that are for your quick test to ask a question, and then we'll play it right back to see if there's an answer there. We've got ones that are meant to be set and placed to record for hours, to catch anything that's happening. We've got, I don't even know how many digital recorders we have, but we'll triangulate them. So if EVPs do come through, we can see if it's just on one, if it's on more than one, if you can tell by the strength, if a direction can be determined where it came from. We've got parabolic mics that'll pick up sound from anywhere in the building practically.
Nice.
But yeah, we will do the quick burst test. That usually will tell us if the room does have activity in it. If it does, then we'll do longer EVP sessions. We'll leave recorders to see what else can be captured, even if we walk away. So yeah.
Cool. What has been the most memorable evidence that you guys have collected together over your investigations? What are the most that stand out to you that made you go, wow, this is hard to disprove?
There's so many.
There's a lot.
I'm sure there are.
Off the top of my head, ones that come to mind are, we captured a figure standing in the San Carlos hallway on the FLIR, no body heat at all. It walks across the hall, comes back, stands in the middle.
Yeah.
Looks like it might be talking to or reaching out to another body, but the wall cuts it so you can't see the other body.
Wow.
That one stands out to me.
Gadsden also.
Oh yeah.
The lady in the porch.
Yeah. We were investigating the Gadsden Hotel in
Is that Globe?
No, that was William? Not Williams.
No, William.
I can't think of the town. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Cherie took a picture because we were standing outside because there was some vicious energy in there, and we actually started fighting, which we normally don't do.
Yeah.
And I said to her, let's just get out. Let's walk out of this hotel. So we were just standing outside across the street. Cherie took a picture, and up on this deck, there's this figure. And so I blew up the picture, zoomed in, and it is an apparition, and it is staring right at the camera. That one was really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come here, Mama from La Posada in the underground tunnels, when they said to you, oh my God, Diplomat Hotel is
just one of the best too.
So many things that happened there.
Copper Canyon, we have tons in Copper Canyon.
Had incredible stuff happened in the Copper Canyon.
Nice.
The Bel Air House, Queen Mary. I mean, there's so many of them.
Sure. As far as ITC goes, again, it really does have a really good future ahead of it. What are some of your thoughts as to some of the other things that you see other investigators doing with ITC experimental spirit boxes, or the type of research they've been involved with, video ITC. There's just so much that's out there.
There is so much. And the best thing about whether it be a spirit box or, like you said, a video looping, technology gets upgraded every couple of months.
Yeah.
And every time technology gets upgraded, so can spirit boxes, so can every other device that's out there.
Yeah.
I actually know of a surprise coming for Cherie that she has no idea that's coming, which uses some brand.
She looks surprised now.
But anyway.
What is it?
Anyway, but every time something new comes out, there's always builders testing it, trying it out. And that's exciting to me because you just never know what differences it's going to make. And they come out so fast. And there's, if you look at the market, if you look at sweeps and radio circuits and everything in between, they're constantly being upgraded. And every time that happens, new things can be added and taken off and replaced and give you whole new sounding devices. And that to me is always fun to watch from anybody who's building anything.
Yeah. One of the things that I find fascinating, all right, again, granted it's on a TV show, but one piece of equipment that was introduced briefly a couple of times on Ghost Adventure, which was built by Gary Galka, who invented the Melmeter and the SB7 spirit box, because he wanted to communicate with his, deceased daughter.
Right.
That's what made him get involved with all that, if anybody knows the backstory on that. But he has a new device, I don't know if you've seen it, where you can actually rewind and pause and filter it out as you're.
Yeah, you can slow it down, you can speed it up, and it actually connects directly to the SB7.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I think it's great, but
that. Did you? Is that the
no? It's a device Gary came out with. Hooks directly to the SB7, allows you to replay. It records. You can speed it up. You can slow it down. You can filter it. You can try to take out some of the noise. But I think one of the biggest things. I mean, I love the SB7 because it does work and it's relatively inexpensive. But take that static out. It doesn't need to be there.
Yes, I can't stand with the background
noise. It's too much, and it's way too loud.
Yeah, but I kind of find that maybe the static can be used kind of like a white noise kind of helper in a way. Do you think by taking
it absolutely does? Yeah, it absolutely does. No doubt about it. It does help them to speak. But the problem is if the white noise is so overpowering and you can't hear what they said, kind of defeats the purpose. Sure. Now, we know for a fact that white noise effect, whether it's coming from the swishing of a radio sweeping through stations, whether it's a fan, whether it's from water falling, whether it be rain or a waterfall, they can use those as well. And we've experienced that many, many times. Trains going by can give them that white noise effect, not the horn, but the rushing of the wheels and the motion of the wind. Those do give them natural sounds that they can use as enhancers for their speech. Yeah. But I just think the SB7 could cut that back.
Yeah. You're right, though. It is overpowering. Yeah.
Right. We've seen that they can actually speak without it.
Yeah.
And it's
just
incredible.
like the straight EVPs, you record it. You can, there will be.
True. But an EVP may not have full vocal tone. A lot of EVPs come through in whispers unless it's an unbelievable Class A that is a full, and we've captured those, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But that's the coolest thing to us, and the whole reason why we're called Entity Voices is because EVPs have been captured. I don't even know how long, since the first single wire recorder they were captured on, and every recording device since then. But yet, not much more is known about how they happen, how they occur, because they go, okay, yeah, we got voices, we can't explain it, it's paranormal, and it's left at that. But the cool thing about an EVP is that on top of the fact that they're actually saying something, there's so much more information in there. You can tell whether it's male or female. You can tell whether it's an adult or a child. You can tell if they have a particular dialect or accent in their voice. All of this on top of what they actually said. So there's so much information to be obtained from EVPs. That's why they're our fascination and we love them. And that's what led us into ITC, to get direct voice responses from questions asked.
Nice.
Yeah.
There have been times, I don't know about you guys, but on investigations where we're using spirit boxes or the SP7, we've actually gotten regular EVPs while the spirit box was running. So I think the spirit box was helping facilitate that EVP to come through. But I found that those EVPs that we've gotten are a little more clearer than what was coming through the spirit boxes, like you said, because of all the static and everything. But we've gotten some amazing EVPs just by running the spirit box that wasn't, coming through the spirit box itself.
Right. It just showed up on the recorder, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure the spirit box running in the background gave it some of that white noise to be able to use to give that full, to give it that full vocal tone on the recording.
Right. But and I agree with you 100%, Tony. Like when you have an answer to, maybe not direct answer, but relevance to the question or what's going on in that, moment of your actions or what you're doing, there's something to that. You can't deny that it's coming from somewhere. It's something intelligently responding.
No, you're exactly correct. And, I learned this connection from Ron, but I remember him saying on one of our shows, the two most important aspects when using either doing EVP or ITC is relevance and timing. And I think I've repeated that, I don't know how many times, but he's absolutely right. When you're asking a question, was the answer that was given, was it relevant to your question? And timing, how long did it take? Did it come, 30 seconds after? Did it come 5 seconds after? Did it come 20 minutes after? Because that makes a big difference. So timing and relevance are the two factors that really tell you whether you got an answer.
Right. And not only relevance to the situation of what's going on in that moment, what, again, with the actions that you're doing at the time of the question, but we don't necessarily know that those responses are relevant to them as far as the past history of that location. So also research is very important so that you can have some kind of background on what could be relevant to that question.
No, and that's very true too. I mean, there are so many factors, and I'm assuming those factors are put in place correctly, including research of where you're going. And so, you're absolutely correct, but that all plays a part in the relevance that you're speaking of. I agree.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, this has been great, guys. We're continuing with this conversation. Just, guys, real quick, if you're tuning in late to the Strange Oddities podcast, because I always forget, I get deep in these conversations that we're live streaming. I tend to forget once in a while. So I just want to let everybody know that we're with Cherie Rathman and Tony Rathman of Entity Voices podcast. They call it Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence podcast. And you guys do other things, like you help train other investigators, which, we've had Carrie Hopper on our show and your show as well. And that's another aspect that you get involved with the paranormal is your training. What has been some of your positive experiences with that?
Oh, we've had some great positive experience. And again, that's all part of the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center. So what we decided to do was there's three groups really, but two main ones. You've got your investigators who have done it for a while. They've got equipment. They know what they're doing, and they want haunted places to be able to go and investigate, spend the night. So that was the first audience we went after. And we allow them to rent the building for 10 hours, 7 o'clock at night till 5 in the morning. And they are the only ones in there. Nobody bugs them. The hospital's on the outskirts of town, so there's not a lot of distraction, outside noise. But then the second audience we wanted to enlighten and be able to share information was people who didn't know much about the paranormal, had never used equipment before. So we have classes where they can come in, they get to tour the building so they don't get lost. 2, we teach them how to use the equipment, and then we let them go investigate and use it. And that gives them usually a first opportunity. We've had EVPs captured. We've had photos captured. We've had things heard, footsteps, doors, all sorts of things.
Yeah, a lot of experience.
Right. And actually, Cherie attended some of those first ones, and she kept coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to know her. And of course, then we started reaching out and inviting her down when we'd go down and let her experience more and more and more. And then she invited us on an investigation she had put together at the Globe Jail. Plus, she's got her own History of a Haunting podcast that she does. So, that was a really cool experience. And Cherie is actually moving across the country where 2 of our teammates are. And I think she is joining Southern Entities, which is part and was originally part of Entity Voices Paranormal Investigation. Yeah. So there's all sorts of great things that happen.
I don't know why they're moving to North Carolina.
Because it's warmer. It's in a better area. I don't know.
They're leaving us. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. No, what am I saying? It's warm by you guys, right? Like it's warm all year.
It's very warm here, but
sorry.
I guess they wanted humidity.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But well, I mean, where they're moving is a great. It's got great history there as well. From the Civil War, Revolutionary War. It's got a whole bunch of stuff there, battlefields, and so who wouldn't want to move in that area? The Confederate land that's down that way.
True, very true.
Yeah. So, and I know Chris Holgen and Audra go out to some of the battlefield that's near them, and I think they go to a cemetery or whatever, and they get good stuff there too. Yeah. Yeah, that's been it's been good. So, guys, we're talking paranormal shop here with Tony and Cherie. You guys got any questions in the chat? Feel free. I'll try to relay them the best I can. What's on your bucket list of places that you have not done yet?
Well, I'd say the biggest one is probably Waverly Hills. But there were a couple other ones that are very close, second and thirds right behind that. Trans-Allegheny, Lunatic Asylum we haven't been to yet.
We're going to need that whole team.
Look at their huge places. Absolutely.
I know, right.
So, and COVID obviously has just put a huge restriction on travel and the ability to, we had multiple ones planned for 2020, the 1898 Crescent Hotel we had booked and had flights, and that all got killed with COVID. There were so many of them that got knocked out.
COVID sucks.
It does.
Yes.
It does. But, hopefully when things return to somewhat what we call normal, those places can start to be checked off our bucket list again.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Have you guys been able to do any investigations, like even with like the current situation with COVID, or have you tried to stay active? Yeah,
well, of course we got an unbelievable opportunity. We had we actually had a week because we were there early. Mm-hmm. We had a 4-day investigation of the completely empty Queen Mary, which was amazing. And now I'm hearing rumors that they filed bankruptcy, so not sure what will happen to that.
Wow.
But excuse me, that was through the dark zone, and just a great opportunity because it was a once in a lifetime experience, and so much occurred with the days we were there. It was unbelievable. But
no, I was gonna say, is there an alignment for new ownership, hopefully, or they just
that I don't know. I just saw an article last week that they were filing bankruptcy, and
how much there's?
I have no idea. Right. I don't have any details beyond that.
I know the brain starts thinking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would wonder how much that would cost.
Oh my God! Just to repair.
I saw the number or the figure for just the repairs that it need. What was it?
300.
It was just under 300 million
just for the repairs.
Right.
So yeah.
Now, This is a really interesting thing I'm going to bring up. Speaking of ships and haunted, boats and whatnot, Queen Mary's a great location. It's got great history. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but they, I believe, are making a replica of the Titanic and planning to do the same kind of like path that the Titanic took when they start doing that again. Obviously because of COVID, they can't get passengers right now. But my thing with that is, do you think by rebuilding and recreating the Titanic that might give some like relevancy to making a haunting happen?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you take, and this is kind of a removed example, but they will take buildings from all over the place out here in the West, and they'll conglomerate them into one location and call it, the old West Frontier town or whatever they name it. But even though the buildings may have been moved 100 miles, 200 miles, the spirits find it. What was that one we went to? Remember, we had all those EVPs, the bank, the hanging noose.
Chris, I love that place.
And I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, so if you were to build something that resembled the Titanic and it actually moved and sailed, what would not cause a spirit that was familiar with the boat, maybe was on the boat, God forbid, lost their life on the boat,
right?
That they'd be drawn to it. To me, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Like another situation is we investigated a lighthouse out, by us, far east end of Long Island, out in Greenport. And when I first contacted them that I was interested in doing an investigation, they were like, well, it's not that old. I don't think there's anything going on there. They're like, it's a replica of the original, but the replica was built in the 1800s, even though it wasn't like, the older version of it. But there was still activity. And I think it was from the energy that was left there from prior to that. And when I explained everything that way, just kind of what we were just talking about, I said to them, this makes it, the perfect environment for something to happen.
Well, even that museum that they built that resembled the Titanic has had paranormal activity happening in it. So if a museum that's on land can draw in spirits, a boat that resembles it, replicates it, is definitely going to pull them in.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, we all ask this question when you have a couple on interviewing a couple that are a paranormal investigator. You guys have asked us this, so I have to ask you guys. Do you guys fight when you review?
We fight?
When we review.
Do we?
That's what he's asking.
Not only fight.
There's times she won't speak to me for days. We will go through, and the biggest arguments we've ever had are always over EVPs.
Yeah.
Everybody's hearing is a little different. Some people hear high tones well. Some people hear low tones well. Some people have
better hearing than.
True. Some people have areas of sound that get blocked out, but we'll go through, and most of the time we hear the same thing.
Right.
But when we don't, it's always vastly different. And I'll say, I hear, where's the dog? And then Cherie will come over and she'll say, no, I hear the dog has to go outside, take him out now. I'm like, there's 3 syllables. How do you hear that? And we've gotten in some real heated
you're asking
arguments.
A second opinion. That's what I'm hearing. So you gotta.
So yeah, we definitely have had some non-speaking nights.
Yeah.
But then we know the EVP goes in the trash, because if her and I can't agree, right?
I don't think you do that. You don't put in the trash. You keep on. He wanted.
I wait till she goes to sleep, and then I post it with what I think it says.
See,
that's funny. Yeah, my wife, like we argue all the time because like you're absolutely right, 100%. When you're reviewing, everybody's hearing is different. Their quality of hearing and what they hear is totally different from the other person. So
Right.
what they hear versus what you hear are two different things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why it's always best when you are even 2% unsure of what it's saying, to get other people to listen to it without telling them what you hear. Get their original opinion, let them tell you what they hear, and then when there is some unsurance of what's being said, it could be something completely in the middle of what everybody's hearing, but it just tells you that it's probably not clear enough to use as real potentially good evidence. You still know you got a voice, you still know something was said, you're just not 100% sure what it's saying.
What we also do is we go back again. For example, today we review it, and the next day we try to review it
again.
if we hear the same.
Right. Plus we
again.
Plus we usually run multiple recorders, so we'll go see if it's on any of the other ones, see if it is any clearer, any better, if we could make it out there. And then there's other things like you can take what's called a recording voice print, where you get the spectral graph image of what the words are, and you can match those. You can say the word you think you're hearing and then match that audio spectral graph fingerprint to what is being shown from your EVP and see how close they are to see if, okay, yeah, that is the word, or no, that's not even close.
Right. Which is available in Audacity as well.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's on the left-hand side. It's there, but you can it's cool. I like doing that sometimes because you can visually analyze the audio that way.
Right.
Yeah, I love Audacity.
Yeah,
it's cool. So when you guys present EVPs to each other or to others, do you guys tend to not share what you guys think you're hearing? You let them listen to it first? Because we tend to do that a lot, where we don't tell them what we think it is until, like, if they have a lot of trouble hearing it, then we'll say, all right, we think it's this. What do you think?
It depends where it's going and who's asking for it. If we can avoid that, we do, because we don't want to put pre-impressions. I mean, it's a known fact that if you write words out, it's easier for them to go, oh, okay, yeah, that is what I heard, even if they're not 100% sure that's what they heard. Right. Without words, they can only go off of what they're hearing. Right. So if we're trying to prove some type of phenomenon or message that we believe we're hearing and we want others to verify it, no, I would not send what I'm hearing. If we're playing it for general public, where we want them to be able to enjoy it, show what's being done in the paranormal, yeah. A lot of times in our video, hold on, sorry.
That's okay.
Can you stop him?
He is restless.
A lot of times in our videos when we do that, we will spell out what we're hearing. Because there's a lot of people that listen to them who have never listened to EVPs before. And that helps them go, oh my God, yeah, I did hear that. So it can work both ways. But when trying to prove something or be able to verify something's being said, yeah, I wouldn't type out what I'm hearing.
One of the reasons I bring that up too, Tony, is because sometimes I feel people have a really good knack of really hearing them more than other people. Because, like, again, everybody's hearing is different. But people have that. There seems to be, like, I don't know if you want to call it a gift or that skill or ability to have that better, like, tuning into what you're hearing better.
And one of the people who absolutely has that ability on our team is Lourdes. She is a court reporter, and her hearing is amazing. We will play EVPs during the shows, and she'll go, wait, did you hear that? There was something before, and then there was a pause, and you could hear him breathe, and I'm just like, she's right. She's absolutely right.
I think that woman has a parabolic mic in his ear.
Built in her ear. Yeah.
But she does. She does a great job. And I guess that makes sense. I mean, if you're doing that day in and day out, where you're recording what's being said in court, and you have to make sure you get trained to hearing it correctly, but she uses that when identifying EVPs and what's being said, and she's fantastic at it.
Yeah, and there was something my wife and I brought up in conversation recently, where my wife does dictation. She's a legal assistant for a law firm, and she does a lot of dictation. She's gotten EVPs during her attorney's dictation, and she'll be listening through the dictation, and she hears an EVP, and she's like, Matt, you got to hear this. She's like, you got to listen to this. The one she just captured recently is crazy. It's a woman's voice saying, F me.
Wow.
Oh my
And
God.
it was so clear you could hear it was a woman's voice, and it was a male attorney that was speaking on the recorder. And I'm wondering, and that's a question I have for Lourdes, like, she wants to answer that in the future if she hears this, is as a court reporter, does she sometimes get EVPs with her line of work?
That's a good question. Now only she can answer that, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's some of the things she's caught on a first review. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about our team is that everybody's got their special abilities, and when you can combine us and then review evidence, it's a blast for everybody because we just can pull it apart from every angle, and that's
Right.
cool.
Now, do you think Ron and Lourdes fight about the EVP?
I'm sure they do. I mean,
I think that question is
Always.
that question I think we've asked on every single show when there are a couple, and it's funny because the answers are always the same.
We're always right.
we fight.
Yeah, I'm assuming Ron's responding because he wrote she does get EVPs on court recorded files.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that, Ron.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm just saying, like in that kind of work environment, I can't imagine some of the things she may have gotten.
True.
Yeah. So,
wonder if any of those EVPs could be used in court, depending on depending on what the question was that was asked.
Right? Can it be used against them?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the judge will probably like, no, they'll rule that out. Right? So, no, I was going to say, on your podcast, can you name some upcoming guests that you're expecting on your podcast?
I can try. We have been so swamped, and I've just refilling spots, but and I don't want to mess up names because I'll really feel stupid if I do that. I'm not, especially at first when I'm first scheduling guests, but we've got some great guests coming up. But I know we have Steve and Katie Halte are going to be on. We have.
Did he pronounce it right?
Halte? Yeah.
Halte, I think, right? Yeah.
Jeremy York will be on.
Mm-hmm.
Philip. You got me on a spot. I'm just drawing a blank.
That's okay.
That spring or summer.
He's not scheduled yet. But yeah, we've got some great, and we've got even more in the works that aren't official yet. But we've got some really good guests coming up.
Nice. And for those that don't know too, because I want to give her a plug for after this show tonight, because after my show is a World Awakening podcast, and Tony is actually he helps Andrea produce the show, which I don't know if a lot of people know about Tony, but he helps her with a World Awakening podcast as well. Right, Andrea.
James, I don't know if you know who this is, but James Tyson's going to be on tonight. I think the show is called The Wild Side of Paranormal. So it's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
The wild side of me.
Paranormal.
I can't imagine where that's going to go. Yeah. So, well, anything upcoming as far as events? I know, again, with the pandemic, events have been kind of tough, a lot of cancellations and reschedules. But I know hopefully within spring or summer, things will start to open back up slowly.
Yeah.
Anything that you guys have in the works?
We do. Unfortunately, the things that are in the works right now, I'm not at liberty to talk about. And obviously the places and stuff that we're, looking and hoping to get to investigate on our own accord. That's just a matter of timing for COVID to go either away or shots to actually work or whatever the case may be. But I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get back on the paranormal investigation train because I feel like we've been pushed aside for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I've been having ghost hunting withdrawals myself, so
big time.
Yeah. I mean, over by us, it's a little hard. You know, we don't have like rural areas where we don't have to worry about anything. We have areas where we do have to worry about a lot of things, and so it's kind of hard to get into places that are near us. We'd have to travel out of Long Island in order to do that, and of course, you know, with the travel restrictions, that makes it a little hard.
Right. No, totally understand.
Yeah.
And then we've completely saturated Arizona, so anytime we want to investigate somewhere new, it's a state or two away to find new stuff, and that again makes it difficult.
Right. Now,
except for Copper Canyon.
Oh yeah.
I actually think this is an interesting question for you guys. Is there anything that you would like that you've never done before in an investigation that you'd like to try out that you've always thought of trying out that you've never done before?
Yeah, actually there is. And I was just telling Cherie this just the other day. In fact, we did a small sample here in the house because we do get great responses, both EVP and Spirit Box in our own house.
Wow.
But what I want to do at a location that's very highly active is I want to get probably our Evox, but I want to take it and I want to ask, when I'm getting communication back, is this spirits or is this extraterrestrials? I want to hear an answer. I want to hear a response.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that really lean towards that. Are we communicating with possibly extraterrestrial entity? And are some of what we're visually experiencing, are they extraterrestrial entities, that we're dealing with? And, we can't definitively answer those things, but yeah, that's a really, that's a whole nother ball game.
It is. But, if you look at some very active locations, there is a mixture of occurrences of both paranormal activity and UFO activity. So, when you start to really deep dive into the things that are happening, I mean, look at Skinwalker Ranch, for crying out loud.
I was just going to say, I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
That's a prime example. I've heard Andrea mention many times that the Conjuring House, the farmhouse, had both and had both from day one. And even Jennifer and Corey Heinzen said the same thing. They've seen both. So when you start connecting those dots, and I thought, well, we get great responses from the Evox, clear answers. I want to be in a location that's filled with activity. I'm going to ask that question. I want to see what the answer is.
Yep.
Now, what's going to be your reaction if it answers you and says extraterrestrial?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if you hear stories about what UFO researchers or other people who chase UFO and UFO activity, they've got claims for aliens being able to be grayish, silhouette looking, be able to walk through walls, be able to move objects. Yeah. I mean, there is a huge overlap of the two. And if the answer comes back, we're extraterrestrial, okay, well then my next question is, well, I live here, pick me up, I want to go for a ride.
Be careful what you wish for.
Well, you know what? I'd be okay with that. I really would. As long as they bring me back. I don't want to stay away.
Yeah. As long as they don't bring you back naked and like at a telephone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And don't remember like the last week. That wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Unless it's the work week, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Skinwalker Ranch, that's one place. There's a lot of places that my last guest, who I just want to quick mention, we had Tobias Whalen, who is a UFO researcher / Mothman researcher, and he works for MUFON. But the way he explained his style of interviewing kind of is along the lines of what we were just talking about, because he said that there's a lot of paranormal phenomena that occurs during reports of UFO sightings that that they did, and so it kind of absolutely falls into that category that we just talked
Right.
about.
Right.
So
Hearing this over and over and talking to different guests, and not only from our own paranormal perspective, but with Andrea's show as well, it's really got my curiosity up, and I want to see what we can find out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we have not much time left on the show, so I want to give you guys the spotlight. If you guys want to give any shout outs to anybody, you have anything upcoming, a website you want to share, any info, give you guys
absolutely. No, I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you. Yeah, we just we completely rebuilt our entityvoices.com website, so feel free to check it out. We updated it as our team grew. Ron and Lourdes, Chris and Audra, Cherie and I. We've updated it with different programs. All the members have been on. We've updated it with contact information, just a whole variety of things. Our live show can be seen on the page, the past ones anyway. But a ton of information, so feel free to check that out. Check out our YouTube which is under Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations. There's stuff up there from the last, I don't know how many years, 6, 7 maybe.
Probably.
When we first started, we never posted anything. I held on to it for years, and finally Cherie says, "You ever going to share this stuff, or what are you going to do with it?" And so then we started pulling it apart. But
our Mondays, every Mondays are.
Yeah, every Monday we're on KGRA. 7 p.m. Mountain Time for 1 hour. And we got great guests coming up. And if you happen to be a paranormal investigator and you got great stuff, share something with us. We'll take a look. And if we're like, hey, we want to share this, possibly be a guest on the show. So absolutely take advantage of that as well.
Nice. Well, it was a pleasure having you guys here on the Strange Oddities podcast without a big group or a panel, to have you guys you guys here with us tonight, with our audience and listeners and viewers of the podcast. And again, I want to extend my gratitude and thank you guys for being part of tonight's podcast. Really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you having us on, Matt. It's always a pleasure. And thanks to all the people in the audience. I see a lot of familiar names and faces. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it as well.
Yep. Thank you so much. And say hi to Josie. Appreciate for having us again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we'll all have to get together again. We'll have to do another big panel. And
absolutely.
We'll definitely get together again. Yeah, absolutely. So
sounds great.
I'm gonna minimize you guys if you don't mind. I'm gonna close out our show, give our viewers some info about next week's episode.
Sure.
Again, thanks for coming on tonight, and I had a great conversation with you guys as always, and I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Yep. So stay on, and we'll say our goodbyes after. All right. So, guys, I want to make a couple announcements next week. Really big announcement. I'm going to have a exorcist/demonologist live panel on the Strange Oddities podcast. I'm going to have a couple of exorcists and a couple of demonologists. Some you may be familiar with, some you may not be familiar with. But I have Sister Mary Joan, and I have exorcist Bishop Brian Ouellette from Ghost Adventures, as well as Carl Johnson and James Anito, demonologist from Duo Demonology. They're going to be guests on the Strange Oddities podcast next Thursday, 8 p.m. That's February 11th. I'm calling it's the Exorcism of the Strange Oddities podcast. I don't know what's going to happen on the show, but if you have a lot of questions regarding the guests, feel free to stop by next week, February 11th. And the following week, guys, I'm going to have another great guest I want to announce. We have Mr. Dave Schrader of the Holzer Files and also of Darkness Radio. He's going to be a guest on February 18th, and I have to raise the bar from one interviewer to another great interviewer. I admire him a lot. He's been in the field a long time, and he's a great researcher and interviewer himself. And a lot of people look up to him. He's come a long way from where he started, and I can't wait to interview Mr. Dave Schrader. So looking forward to that. Guys, I'm going to end the show and say goodbye to everybody tonight. Be safe, be well. And as always, real quick, I want to thank all the, frontline, the first responders, all the people on the front line, the doctors, the nurses, the EMTs. I want to thank our police, our PD, and fire department people that are out there working hard every day. Thank you to those who serve our country, the military, the men and women who serve our country. I'm patriotic. For those who know me, I love my country, and I thank all you guys for keeping our country safe, and God bless all you guys. I just want to throw that out there, as always. So guys, have a great night. I'm going to go ahead and play our exit here for everybody. All right. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Strange Oddities podcast. You can listen to the rebroadcast on the KGRA radio. Check out kgraradio.com for the rebroadcast at 2 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Pacific Time. You can catch the Strange Oddities podcast live every week at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Please follow our YouTube channel for our live weekly show at 8 p.m. If you like the show, please give us feedback. Email us at strangeodditiespodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, strangeodditiespodcast.wordpress.com. Tune in every week, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the YouTube channel. You can also look us up on Facebook. We have a Facebook page where all the news and information about upcoming guests and anything Strange Oddities podcast is doing. Go to our Facebook page, give us a like.